So we're with Chris Berry today, sales agronomist here at the Battle Creek location of Farmers Pride. And Chris, we always talk to the producers about raising yield. It's one thing they can't control is how much yield can they get. So as a farm producer, I've got an irrigated field. I want to raise 300 bushel corn. Can you get me there? And what formula or recipe should I look at to achieve that goal?
Yeah, actually, Dave, first off, we really like to start with the foundation, and that's like with our grid sampling program. So that way we kind of know what's out there, what we got to work with, things like that.
And that's more like precision placement for fertilizer.
Yes, yep.
When you say
yep.
grid sampling, because
Yes.
not everybody's familiar with
Yes,
that.
because as we're trying to increase our yields, we are, mining our supplies out there in the fields.
Sure.
And so we need to know for sure, what type of foundation we have before we can really kick things off. And, once we get those things done, then there's, other elements that we can add in there as well.
Yeah, so after I get that foundation put together, tell me how it might work, or what am I gonna really need to look at through that growing season?
Yes, honestly, one of the things is placement on starter fertilizers. Have some guys like doing strip till. Some different side, dressing applications as well. But one of the big things is a lot of guys are starting to grasp the concept of weekly tissue sampling. Because as we go through these different stages, there's certain nutrients that are required less or more in certain situations. And with the tissue sampling going out every week, it's actually helped us see like, hey, we might have a problem, even though our corn, looks green and fine from the road.
Right, right. So is that just on a macro level for the nutrients, or do you get into fine tuning the micronutrients?
Yeah,
Both, maybe?
A lot of the both. Because as we're raising these yields, we thought we had plentiful amounts of these micronutrients, and we're slowly depleting them. And we're actually seeing a lot more deficiencies in those micronutrients, and that's some of the key pieces with some of our micronutrient packages that we have that we're using to help guide that corn or soybean plant along the way.
Yeah, so like what specifically, what kind of micronutrients are you looking at when you're taking those tissue samplings, or what might be deficient?
Just the few that really kind of stick out for us is like boron. Boron really helps transform and transplant the nutrients, helping getting everything into the plant.
Right.
And so that really early on is key, and then it helps on later on. But boron, zinc, manganese, and we're really starting to see a little bit of copper deficiency. So we're starting to address some of those needs as well.
So do they put that on? Am I going to put that on as through my pivot irrigation system, or what size of the crop? You said through tassel. So how do I achieve the best application there?
Yes, with obviously the grid sample, we can do a certain amount of the application, up front. But as we go in season, and we're doing these tissue samples, we might make a side dressing application, with some, and we can correct that. Or, if it's irrigated, then we can come up with formulation or to get some sort of nutrient package or whatever you need or deficient on out there, and you can, fertigate it through your pivot.
Okay.
And we've seen really good responses with a lot of that stuff with some of the growers we're working with.
And I know some of that's probably going to depend on my soil type, if I can get to that 300 bushels, acre per acre yield. But are there other things farmers are looking at that you maybe talk to them about? I've heard terms like biologicals.
Yes, biologicals. It seems like that's kind of the new trend is using more biologicals, and you kind of got to weed through them. It's kind of a growing market, so you got to kind of find which one works, which one doesn't.
Yeah.
But there's a lot out there on the market, and it's just trying to navigate through there to try to find the right one that's right for your farm. And typically, we've seen a lot more response with like biologicals and like humics and fulvic acids on some of our sandier soils versus our clay soil, and that's just that's just the difference between sand and clay is you have a little bit more organic matter and
Sure.
things like that.
Sure, that makes sense.
So,
yeah.
yeah, you got to treat each field different, and that's one of the things we try to do at Farmers Pride.
Right.
Is, you know, if it's a sandier field, the potential might not be, you know, 300 or whatever, but, you know, there's a lot of guys that are still maximizing that sandier acre
Yeah.
as well as their clay acre as
Yeah.
well.
It sounds like chemistry class all over again.
Yeah, right.
But I think you make a good point, Chris, is that at Farmers Pride, we really do treat every field differently. You don't have a cookie cutter approach for every farm or every farmer in his fields because particularly here in northeast Nebraska, our soil variability is huge, and you can't really treat one field like another, right?
No, and you know, that cookie cutter approach, you know, might work to some extent, but I mean, when you want to get in the nitty gritty and raise those, you know,
Right.
those yields that you want,
Yep.
you need to approach every field as its own, and so, you know, that's what we try to do here at Farmers Pride.
Yeah, so you're really tweaking kind of that recipe. You have a plan for them, and then you kind of tweak it along the way, and it really depends on that tissue sampling, what you got coming back. And so you said that's a weekly event. You do that through tassel time.
Yeah, and obviously, there is like certain elements, like Mother Nature, you know,
Yeah.
always throws this little curveball.
Of course.
But yeah, we always try to, you know, you got to take it within, you know, its own parameters, because there are parameters when you get these tissue samples back, and you know, depending on the season, stresses or something like that, you might see, you know, something like that.
Sure. And you're going to keep your return on investment in mind too. I mean, you could pour all kinds of money to stuff if you wanted to.
Yeah. But to be real honest, I mean, you know, to gain a little extra, I mean, it's not that much. I mean,
Okay.
it's, you know, you just kind of sometimes maybe get out of your comfort zone a little bit. You know, I know it's always, especially with lower commodities, everybody's trying to pinch, and you don't really need to pinch to, you know, try to maximize.
No, right. I
You
mean,
don't want to do that for sure.
it'll pay back for sure. So yeah, if you're interested in raising some super big yields, talk to us here at Farmers Pride. We've got some history that'll show that it can be done. You got to follow a formula and work with our sales agronomists at all of our locations, and we'll try to get you the best return on investment, like we talked about, and get that yield up there where you want. So we'll catch you next time with another helpful video here from Farmers Pride, and good luck on the 2021 season.